Welcome to the Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon Series. I am your host, Captain Matt, and today we're talking about the impact on COVID and the current market conditions in buying a boat spring of 21. As I record this, we are in March, and these are the most up-to-date numbers and information. So we're going to talk about the real story on inventory levels, prediction on production, supply chain, ordered boat opportunities, scams and used boat inventory right now, and my recommendations on what to do. So let's look at where the numbers are for 2019 versus 2020 and kind of what happened with COVID, where some industry and some people were really struggling. What happened was, hey, there's no more international travel. There's no more going to Disneyland for a period of time. There's no big social gatherings. A lot of the vacation and recreational time was just not available. A lot of people that traveled for business now were working from their home office and had even more time to spend with their family. And although some people were struggling financially, some people got the stimulus check. Some people were doing well financially. Some were doing extra well because the pandemic caused their industries to explode. I've got a neighbor that did solvents, and their disinfectant products went through the roof, and it made a huge impact on their sales force's income. So let's look at the numbers and what happened. If some of the main segments, if you look here, this is the most up-to-date numbers for boats sold in the pleasure boat market. But you can see a 6% increase in aluminum fishing boat, 15% increase in pontoons, 6% in inshore and offshore boats, 7.8% in bow riders deck boats, a little drop in cruisers, a little drop in yachts, a little drop in semi-custom yachts, and then ski boats, wake boats, almost a 17% increase, a drop in electric, a drop in houseboats, which has been happening. But look at how small those numbers are. I mean, you're looking at 100 boats, less than 200 boats a year in those two segments. And then jet boats up almost 12%. Another thing that I think is important to know about the boating industry, and I did a whole video on this, how boats are different than cars, but look at the numbers. I mean, you're looking in the powerboat segment, 172,000, and that was up almost 10% from 2019. They're predicting about a 5% increase in 2021, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But you're looking, I think the final numbers for 2020 were like 315,000 new boats sold. Compare that to the auto industry. They're producing that in a day. Maybe it's a little bit more than that, but the numbers we're working at are very small and very segmented. So, a big segment of the market is 50,000 boats, pontoons and offshore center console type boats. And then you drop down to 10,000, your wake boats and your deck boats and bow riders. And then if you think about the segmentation there, I mean, you're talking different brands, 18 feet to 26 feet. You're only producing a few hundred, maybe 1,000 or so of any particular model size. And so because of that, it's very segmented and it causes some supply chain issues, which we'll get into. So the numbers on, hey, what do the retailers or the boat dealers think about what's going to happen over the year? And you can see in April 2020, the current conditions were way down. Nobody knew. This is actually March. Nobody really knew what was going to happen with the pandemic. We started coming out. The stimulus check was coming, and dealers were seeing, hey, all the boat shows were canceled in February in February and March. In April, they started seeing just people coming to the dealership. They started seeing traffic to their websites going skyrocketing. By May, they were selling out of inventory, and by June and July, they were like, holy crap, this is the best market we've seen in a decade. And their 3-year outlook is, again, still pretty positive. At around the election time, They were starting to drop out. Hey, what happens with the election? And then it popped back up again saying, hey, it really isn't going to be as big of an impact as we thought if the election doesn't go the way that they wanted it to go. So that's just kind of by the numbers. Now, over 200,000 boats built in 2020. We said that there were over 300,000 sold. So look at this. Look at in 2019, the sentiment was, hey, there is a lot of inventory in the marketplace. The economy is starting to show signs of maybe slowing down. We're not sure if there's going to be a small recession, a downturn of some sort. They were expecting that to come, and the inventory levels were really high. Excuse me. So when the boats were being built, look at this. In 2019, these are the number of boats that were built. In April, they built 27,000 boats. In 2019, only 8,000 in April, 23,000 in May, only 13,000 in 2020, 20,000 in June. In 2020, 19,000. All of this was the supply chain issue. Hey, factories were shut down for 2 and 3 months across the board. So it wasn't just your factory shut down, you went in, you picked up. It was you went in, you picked up with the parts and inventory you had, but then now you've got new seats. You got to get all the bolts in that you use. You've got to get all the hinges in that you use, all the upholstery, all of the washers, all of those little components. And over time, what you found in August, they were only building 11,000, 12,000 September, 18,000 in October. So you are seeing the social distancing. We can't run our factory lines the way we used to with everybody being close together. We've got to distance. We've got to wear masks. Some people said, hey, I don't want to work. This is a health hazard to me. And I'm going to step out of the employment market while this pandemic is happening. And so you're seeing that there weren't as many boats being built. So now the supply is a little bit lower. We're kind of pushing through all the 2018s and 19s that were oversaturating the market earlier in the year. But now the production level is lower. They would love to be producing more boats, but they just can't yet. So because of that, the outlook is, hey, we think we're going to be up 3 to 5%. Now, if they could get all the supply chain issues worked out, if they could get all of the production issues worked out, if they had more capacity in their factories, hey, this number could be much, much more. But because of the segmentation of the industry, because of the way they have to organize their production lines to account for social distancing, and hey, there's just some areas where you can't wear a mask. If you're welding, you can't have a mask on. You can't impede your vision. There's some areas where, hey, the supply chain coming from China or from Japan has been sliced, and we can't get the pieces. Their Yamaha boats, the way I understand it, cut 1,000 sold boats. People had placed the orders, put deposits down in most situations, and were expecting a 2021 boat. And Yamaha came in and said, we can't make that many because in our supply chain, there's a part that we can't get. There were some high-end boats, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 boats that were being hung up with a couple $100 parts, and just shutting down the production line because, hey, we can't build the next step without this part because we can't get to it once it's built. It has to be added in this phase of the production process. And again, that's impacted the supply. And it's these little things, when you're looking at, you only build 50,000 pontoons and only 1,000 of them take this little bolt. Well, it's just Ford and Chevy don't have that issue. Toyota and Honda don't have that issue because they're building millions and millions. But when it's a small thing, their supplier is a small factory. Their supplier is doing small runs to satisfy their needs, and it's very customized. In the marine industry, the components that you need, the material needed to do those components. I mean, look at this little gear lube reservoir. There's nobody else that uses a gear lube reservoir like that, but Mercruiser may only make 50,000 stern drives a year. It's probably not even that high. They only may make 20,000 stern drives a year, and if they can't get this part, well, they can't marinize their engines. They can't turn that boat loose to the manufacturers, because that's an essential part. So all of those things have kind of laid into it. And again, there's a 20% decrease in the manufacturer inventory levels from 2019. And it's because of all of those different things. Back orders on boats are 6 months on average. Typically, you're seeing that as about 6 to 12 weeks is kind of a normal time of having back order. But right now, it's just all of those issues are piling up. They've sold all that excess inventory. And if you've been out shopping for a new boat, man, you're like, if you don't want this boat, I've got 5 other people that can buy it. And it's not just a sales pitch. It's the reality of where things are at. This is another survey of marine retailers, so boat dealers, of where's your inventory level? Well, in April, they thought, wow, our inventory level is pretty high. Over 60% of people were saying, almost 80% in this couple of spikes, our inventory levels at our dealership are too high. We're getting a little nervous. Only a small percentage were saying they're too low. We wish we could get more boats because we think we can sell them in the next 12 months. Hit April 20th, April 2020, and boom, that sentiment changes almost overnight. You go from April to May to June and July, so 3-month period of time. They went from, man, we think we got 80, 60, 70, 80% of people thought we had too many boats to sell. Now over 80% are saying we don't have enough. We're way too low. And that's because they sold through. The demand was crazy through the roof, and it stayed that way, and it's continuing that way into 2020. Used boats are the same. Used boats are the exact same situation. The used boats hit that peak a month earlier in March, and it was April, May, June is when it started falling, because people were buying up used boats as quickly as they could. When the really good used boats get sold, well, here's what happens. This is one of the issues that's happening during COVID time that you got to be careful of. People started putting a little bit of shady boats for sale. So this is when I was at a marina recently, and I saw this, and hey, it wouldn't be unheard of for somebody to wash this boat up, kind of put some lipstick on a pig, and try to sell this and take advantage of the high demand and the new boat buyers that are coming into the market and taking advantage. So you got to be real careful if you're buying a used boat. And even I'm going to give you some specific scams here in a little bit, but even in areas where you think, oh, I don't need to worry about that, you might need to worry about. Here's another one. Hey, it's center consoles, it's cruisers, it's bow riders, it's almost everything that is causing problems. Now, one other thing that the industry is seeing are first-time boat buyers, so people that are new to the industry. Over 100,000 people bought their first boat in 2020, so that's 30% of the market. 30,000 new boats were sold, probably about just over 1 million boats total were sold, new and used, and about 30% of that market were first-time buyers. What that means is, hey, they may not know everything to look for, and they may see this boat all cleaned up and not know what to look for, that if it was damaged. They may look at this cruiser and say, oh, it's $5,000. Yeah, it's a little bit older, but we can get in it. We can pay cash. Yeah, if there's some issues, we can fix it. Well, that's where the problem comes in. Is if you've watched any of my other how to inspect a boat, there's a lot of little things that first-time boaters that really aren't experienced can have issues with. That's why we put together our US Boat Expo at usboatexpo.com, is to help them make smarter decisions. And then a lot of other people in the market are saying, hey, you know what? We're just going to wait, because what's going to happen is all these people are coming into the market, and in a year or two, they're going to realize boating's not as easy as they thought it was. It's more expensive than they thought it was. They're going to go back to work, and they're going to start traveling, and they're going to get out of the market. And the reality is they're partly right. 20% of the first-time buyers, leave the industry within 20 years. So you're looking at an opportunity where, you know, 1 million boaters, 30% of them were first-time buyers. That's a big number of boats that could potentially come on the market. But again, remember, some of those boats were, you know, a hurricane boat. That what I've heard has happened in the industry is some of the hurricane boats for over the years, they've just they total them out and then they stack them up in a yard. Well, I've heard stories that they're starting to show up in Michigan. They're starting to show up in Colorado. They're starting to show up in the Midwest and where nobody's even thinking hurricane. They're not even thinking saltwater. And some of these boats are showing up in those market areas and being sold as good turnkey ready to go boats, and unfortunately some people are being taken advantage of. So be real cautious if you're looking at buying, especially on the used side. And again, it can trickle down because they may have had some issues and said, boating break out another 1,000, I'm getting out of this, and they go ahead and leave the market. Now that boat's going to be for sale again, and another person could get kind of scammed and ripped off. So be careful of that, but be aware that maybe there will be some more inventory coming in the next few years. Although some of the predictions are saying family is rising in importance, and one of the things that if family's rising in importance, spending time with your family rises, and a great way to spend your time with family is on the water. And so I don't know that number is going to hold steady, but there's certainly going to be a percentage of people that leave the market when the pandemic is kind of we're through the worst of it, and people are getting back to a little bit normal. So here's the outlook. Here's my outlook for what's going to happen. The pre-owned market's going to continue to be in high demand with low supply. Watch out for those problem boats. Be very slow in inspecting and fast in buying. So what I mean by that is I helped a buddy just recently buy a boat. He bought a 23-foot Chaparral. It was used. It was in the mid-20,000 range. We went and looked at one boat. I said, yep, put a deposit on that. Looks like it could be a great boat. There's a few red flags. Let's go look at it, and we'll see if it's a smart one to buy. Well, we went and looked, and there were all sorts of red flags, and I said, all right, walk away, get your deposit back. Let's move to the next one. That's what I mean by make the decision. Lock it in quickly with the refundable deposit if you can. If it's through a dealer or a broker, you can do that. If it's a private individual, go look at it right away and do a diligent inspection. So watch all my videos, get my checklist, attend the US Boat Expo, usboatexpo.com. And you'll learn a ton of what to look for, how to look for it, and so you can avoid some issues. If you find issues that concern you, then just walk. There's always going to be another boat. A week later, my buddy found a new boat. We did the same thing, put a deposit on it, negotiate the price, and we'll inspect it. Did the sea trial. Everything checked out good except for a few things that the dealer said they would take care of. I told him, hey, James, do these two things. The blower wasn't sounding right. I said, just change that out, change the impeller, do it oiling, new gear lube, and put in new batteries. And that way you've got the whole season. You should be good to go. So he found a great boat because he acted quick, inspected slow, and then he just took delivery on last Thursday, so 3 or 4 days ago. Dealers' new boat inventory, it's going to be moving quickly, especially in those most popular segments. And I showed you which ones are going: pontoons, wake boats, center consoles. Those are all growing quickly. So if you want a new boat, you can either pre-order, try to get on their list to order exactly what you want. So when it comes in, it's got your name on it. You've already put a deposit on, and you've got it exactly how you want it. If it's an inventory boat, hey, know exactly what you want, and when you find it, put the deposit on and close, because they are going to be gone quickly, and they're already moving on to 2022 model years that they're selling, which will start being shipped out late July, early August, and now you've missed almost the whole season. So custom ordering a boat, it's going to take 6 to 10 weeks plus if they're available at all. Again, and it could be you place your order and then some weird supply chain issue happens and they can't get that $50 part to finish the build of your boat. They can't get motors in because the motor manufacturers had issues in their supply chain, and that ordered boat that you thought was going to take 10 weeks is now going to take 25 weeks. Just be aware it can happen, and have a frank conversation with your dealer about what happens if this comes up. Is there anything I can do about it, or am I just stuck? And be aware of what's going on. But here's my advice. If you want a boat, buy a boat. The people that say, oh, the boat prices are going to drop. Yeah, boat prices are inflated right now for sure. But they're inflated by a couple $1,000s. And if you want a boat, get a boat. That couple $1,000, if you're buying a boat, if a couple $1,000s makes or breaks you, you probably should not buy a boat. It's just, if it's that big a deal for you to pay a little bit extra, then you're going to get in a situation where a repair comes up and it's going to break the bank, and you're going to say, oh, boating sucks, break out another $1,000. It's a hole in the water you throw money into. And the reality is, yes, boating costs money, but if you take care of your boat properly and you do the maintenance and you have a little flexibility in your budget, boating is incredible. It's the people that stretch their budget way too thin to get into a boat that they think they have to have. Those are the ones that tend to have issues. Now, with that said, here's my process: is find exactly what you want, know what you want. When you do find it, inspect it thoroughly, negotiate like crazy. Even though the demand is super high and supply is low, there's still the opportunity to negotiate. I've had people that invested in the Magic Money Saving Method, a program that we devised that or deliver that helps people negotiate the lowest possible price, have said, we negotiated and then we used your technique and saved another $2,000, another $3,000 on top of it. And then when we were dealing with the dealer, we got them to throw in some stuff. We used the exact same script that you told us to use, and I was shocked. Maybe we could have got better if it was a different time, but we were able to negotiate extra even during the pandemic because we use your system. So you can still negotiate when you're buying the boat. And then the inspection comes back clean, you negotiate, you get a price you're comfortable with, then just pull the trigger. Don't hesitate, don't delay, pull the trigger. And then from there, the next steps, build your skills. If you're not a competent boat operator, if you're new to boating, hire a local captain to take you out and show you the ropes. Take the boater safety course for sure. Go out in your boat on a Tuesday afternoon and just work on operating it. Work on loading it on the trailer and unloading it from the trailer. Work on coming into a dock at slow speeds and maneuverability. Just go work on all that stuff, and it'll make boating so much more fun, so much more enjoyable, and easier for you, and you'll do it a lot more. Then maintain your boat properly. It's not like a car that you can, I need to change my oil at 5,000 miles, and if I go to 7,000, it's not a big deal. Oh yeah, I probably should fix that, but I can ride it a little bit longer before it's an issue. Well, you do that on a boat, and that $500 maintenance item is going to turn into a $5,000 repair item. Because deferred maintenance is going to be the most expensive repair that you're going to have. And then from there, once you do that, so you find the right boat, you inspect it, you negotiate, you buy it, you build your skills, you work on your skills, and you have fun. You maintain the boat properly according to the specs, and you do the maintenance that's recommended. And then just go out and make some memories. And I think you'll have a great time on the water, even during this COVID time. And then in 3-4 years, the market will settle down a little bit, and you're going to be able to sell your boat. You're not even going to notice, in most cases, if you negotiate well and you pick the right boat, you're not going to notice that, maybe you paid a little bit more than you would have in normal times, but you also would have missed 2, 3, 4 years of memories with your families, and the kids grow up quick. I mean, if I made that decision, I'm going to wait 3 or 4 years. My daughter would go from 10 to 14 in the blink of an eye. And I'll tell you, the memories with the 14-year-old are awesome, but memories with the 10-year-old are even better. And with the 6-year-old, even better. And you don't want to miss those times, because once they're gone forever. So pull the trigger, make the decision to follow all of the advice that we have. We've got 100 plus videos here on the website to help you make a smart choice. We've got the Boat Buyer's Toolkit, which you can grab for free. We've got the U.S. Boat Expo at usboatexpo.com. Check that out. I am super proud of this program that we put together, the experts that we brought in for the interviews. Subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Let me know what your experience has been shopping during COVID. I would love to hear it. And remember, life truly is better on a boat.